Have you ever felt completely drained after interacting with someone? As if all your energy and good mood just vanished? In this video, I'm going to show you the 10 major red flags of a person who, besides not being as smart as they appear, might be bringing more problems than solutions into your life. Stick with me until the end, because the last red flag reveals valuable insights that will change the way you see your relationships. Let's go. They never admit their mistakes. You've probably dealt with someone like this before. One of the most evident red flags when dealing with toxic and less intelligent individuals is their inability to admit their mistakes. Instead of acknowledging their faults, these people always find an excuse or someone to blame, whether it's their environment, coworkers, circumstances, or even you. This behavior demonstrates emotional immaturity and reveals a lack of practical intelligence needed to learn, grow, and build healthy relationships. As Brené Brown highlights in her bestseller Dare to Lead, admitting mistakes is one of the pillars of courage and authentic leadership. According to Brown, vulnerability, which includes the willingness to recognize faults, is essential for building trust in any type of relationship. When someone avoids taking responsibility, they miss valuable learning opportunities and undermine the trust of those around them. Individuals who refuse to acknowledge their mistakes often live in a cycle of excuses and denials, creating frustration for those around them as the blame inevitably falls on others. Living or working with someone who never admits their faults is exhausting, and the relationship often becomes entirely unproductive. To deal with this type of person, it's crucial to establish clear boundaries to protect your energy and avoid falling into toxic cycles. As Brown explains, change only happens when we have the courage to face the truth. Don't waste your energy trying to convince these people to change. Make it clear that you won't participate in their blame game and prioritize preserving your emotional well-being. After all, healthy relationships are built on honesty and mutual responsibility. They love to impress but lack depth. Another classic sign of someone who isn't as intelligent as they seem is their constant need to impress others. These individuals often exaggerate their achievements, use sophisticated words, or tell grandiose stories, all in an attempt to grab attention and mask their insecurities. However, not everything that glitters is gold, and understanding this is crucial to avoid being deceived by empty facades. Developing the ability to filter what these people say is a powerful skill. Not every impressive narrative or comment should be taken at face value. Often, their statements serve only to distract or divert attention from what truly matters. Concrete results. By practicing this filtering process, you can distinguish between what is meaningful and what is merely an attempt at superficial self-promotion. Additionally, by ignoring meaningless speeches and focusing on what genuinely adds value, you maintain control over the interaction. Just as baseless criticisms or sarcastic comments lose their power when ignored, attempts to dazzle also lose their impact when confronted with direct questions like, "What are the real results?" or "How can this be implemented?" Dealing with these individuals requires a firm and objective approach. Instead of reacting to every attempt to impress, stay focused on what is tangible and truly important to you. This way, you avoid falling into emotional traps and don't waste your energy on flowery speeches that lack substance. After all, actions always speak louder than words. Have you ever dealt with someone who seemed impressive at first glance, but upon closer inspection turned out to be completely empty? Share your experience in the comments. They avoid discomfort at all costs. People with a limited mindset are constantly trying to avoid discomfort. Instead of confronting problems head-on, they run away, ignore difficult situations, or come up with excuses to justify their inaction. This behavior not only reflects a lack of courage, but also an inability to handle challenges that everyone must face at some point. Inevitably, this leads to frustration for those around them, as someone else is left to take on the responsibility of resolving issues. When someone avoids discomfort, the consequences often fall on those nearby. Whether in the workplace or personal relationships, they prefer to let others handle crises and conflicts. This could mean dumping a problem on a colleague or expecting a partner to resolve something that should clearly be a shared responsibility. Often, they mask their avoidance with convincing excuses, but at its core, it's just a way to escape facing reality. Avoiding discomfort doesn't make problems disappear. What could have been resolved quickly with a little effort in the beginning often snowballs into a much bigger and more complicated issue. Those who live or work with these individuals often find themselves trapped in a tiring cycle of cleaning up messes that aren't theirs to handle. This creates frustration and fosters an environment where responsibilities are rarely shared fairly. This behavior also reveals a very narrow perspective on life. Facing discomfort is essential for growth and learning. When someone consistently avoids it, they miss out on important opportunities for personal evolution, and worse, disrupt the progress of those around them. Recognizing this pattern is critical to ensuring that the burden of managing everything doesn't fall entirely on you. Remember, don't take on or carry responsibilities that aren't yours. Protect your energy, set boundaries, and encourage others to face their own challenges. Ultimately, that's the only way to foster real growth, for them and for yourself. They criticize others but can't take feedback. You've probably encountered someone like this, the type of person who loves pointing out others' flaws, criticizing decisions, and even giving unsolicited advice. But when it's their turn to receive constructive feedback, they become defensive, irritated, or even aggressive. This behavior not only demonstrates immaturity, but also reveals a lack of vision for personal growth, as the ability to accept criticism and learn from it is one of the key traits of someone who truly wants to evolve. These individuals have an incredible knack for identifying faults in others, but when the focus shifts to them, the situation changes entirely. Any suggestion for improvement is perceived as an attack, creating an environment where the exchange of ideas and mutual growth becomes impossible. This is a classic red flag of someone who isn't as intelligent as they might want to appear. A person who criticizes to seem superior, but avoids any vulnerability or self-reflection at the first opportunity. For example, imagine a workplace where someone constantly criticizes their colleagues, but refuses to accept suggestions on how to improve their own performance. This attitude not only creates discomfort, but also undermines productivity and erodes team trust. In personal relationships, the issue becomes even more glaring. Living with someone who reacts poorly to any constructive dialogue can foster constant tension and directly impact the quality of the relationship. Most of the time, this behavior stems from insecurity. People who cannot accept criticism are often trying to protect their self-esteem from any perceived threat. However, the problem is that by acting this way, they miss out on valuable opportunities for learning and growth. Accepting feedback isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to maturity and self-confidence, qualities that are noticeably absent in those who attack to shield themselves. Have you ever had to deal with someone like this? Share your experience in the comments. They are impulsive and lack planning. Living with someone impulsive is a constant challenge. These individuals make decisions in the heat of the moment, whether financial, emotional, or in everyday situations, without considering the consequences of their actions. They act without reflection, driven by impulses or fleeting emotions, often leading to problems that could have been avoided with just a little planning and rationality. Impulsivity, in addition to creating instability, reveals a lack of clear and strategic vision. This absence of reflection means the consequences of their actions are not only felt by them, but also by those around them. A clear example of this behavior is someone who spends all their savings on something unnecessary, or ends a relationship in the heat of an argument, without considering the impact of these decisions. These actions create an atmosphere of uncertainty, where it's hard to predict what their next move will be or the ramifications it will have. This lack of planning clearly indicates a focus on immediate gratification rather than growth or long-term stability. Ignoring planning increases the chances of regret, as well as conflicts and emotional strain. It's a typical sign of a limited mindset, as the lack of preparation prevents these individuals from building consistent results or stable relationships. Dealing with these situations requires extreme patience and a balanced approach. Encouraging these individuals to think before acting can help, but unfortunately, they're not always willing to change their patterns. Protect yourself from the instability caused by impulsive choices. Set boundaries and prioritize your peace. By doing so, you'll avoid being dragged into the chaos and ensure that someone else's lack of planning doesn't compromise your own life. They make promises. They can't keep. Another sign of someone who isn't as intelligent as they may appear is their tendency to make promises they can't or won't keep. You've probably encountered someone like this, haven't you? These are the people who constantly say they'll change, improve, or deliver something important, but never follow through. Over time, these empty promises generate distrust and frustration, damaging any relationship, whether professional or personal. The problem is that these individuals often seem sincere at the moment they make their promises. Their words sound convincing and build trust. However, when their actions don't align with their commitments, it becomes clear that they lack the practical intelligence required to turn intentions into results. This behavior is a glaring red flag, signaling someone who may try to appear reliable, but falls short when it comes to action. Empty promises not only frustrate those around them, but also highlight a pattern of irresponsibility and disregard for the impact of their words on others. Failing to keep promises isn't just about forgetfulness or negligence. It's a sign that the person doesn't value the weight their words carry. Over time, unfulfilled promises lead to emotional exhaustion, putting others in uncomfortable positions of waiting for something that may never happen. Worse yet, those who believe these promises often end up overburdened, taking on responsibilities that weren't theirs to begin with. To deal with someone who frequently breaks their promises, the best strategy is to avoid building expectations based on what they say. Focus instead on their actions, not their words. Remember, trust isn't built on promises, it's built on consistent actions. They always play the victim. Another clear sign of immaturity and a lack of emotional intelligence is someone who constantly positions themselves as the victim. Everything revolves around them. Their problems are always the biggest, their challenges insurmountable, and nothing is ever their fault. This behavior goes beyond being merely exhausting. It's often used as a tool to manipulate situations and people, deflect responsibility, and create a toxic emotional environment. These individuals tend to dramatize problems, exaggerating every obstacle they encounter. A minor setback quickly becomes a major tragedy. By doing so, they capture the attention and compassion of others, which helps them avoid criticism or accountability. This stance is a subtle form of manipulation, as any attempt to confront them is often met with accusations of insensitivity or even cruelty. A clear example of this behavior is someone who, after making a mistake, twists the situation to present themselves as the victim. Think of a friend who, after hurting someone with their words, claims to be misunderstood, expecting others to apologize to them. This victim mentality emotionally burdens everyone around them, as the focus is never on resolving the issue, but on garnering sympathy and avoiding blame. Dealing with this behavior is exhausting, as these individuals rarely acknowledge the impact they have on others. Their attention remains fixed on the problem, never the solution. The best way to handle someone like this is to avoid being pulled into their drama. Do not allow your emotions to be manipulated by a skilled victim. Remember, it's not your responsibility to carry the weight of someone else's choices and actions, especially when they prefer to live as a victim rather than take control of their life. Protect your emotional boundaries and focus on healthier interactions. They repeat the same mistakes constantly. We all make mistakes, but what truly sets intelligent people apart is their ability to learn from those mistakes and make adjustments to prevent them from happening again. On the other hand, people who live in repetitive cycles demonstrate a clear lack of self-reflection and awareness. This pattern is typical of someone who doesn't take the time to analyze the consequences of their choices. They operate on autopilot, believing that this time will be different, even when nothing about their behavior or approach has changed. This behavior reflects a lack of personal responsibility. When someone fails to reflect on their actions and their outcomes, they miss out on opportunities to grow and improve. Even worse, their repeated mistakes often affect those around them, especially if their actions create additional burdens for others. For example, working with someone who consistently repeats the same errors can leave the entire team overworked and frustrated. Similarly, living with someone who makes repeated mistakes due to poor planning, without taking accountability or trying to change, can lead to ongoing stress and tension. This repetition is also a sign that the person is stuck in their comfort zone, even if it's uncomfortable. Rather than facing the challenges of change, they prefer to stick to familiar patterns, even if it leads to failure. It's a clear red flag of a lack of practical intelligence, as anyone truly insightful understands that achieving different results requires changing the approach. To deal with people like this, especially if they're close to you, it's important to encourage self-reflection. Asking questions like, "What do you think you could do differently this time?" can help shift their perspective and spark change. However, remember that no one can force someone else to learn or grow unless they're willing to improve. Focus on protecting your energy and avoid being dragged into the repetitive cycles of someone who refuses to evolve. Growth only happens when there's a genuine willingness to change. They are resistant to learning new things. Let me ask you this. Do you know or live with someone stubborn, a person with a limited mindset who refuses to learn anything new? If your answer is yes, then you know just how challenging it is to deal with this type of person, don't you? People with this behavior prefer to stay in their comfort zone, clinging to outdated opinions and ignoring information that could broaden their horizons. This reluctance not only limits their growth, but also reveals that practical intelligence is not their strong suit. After all, the ability to adapt and embrace new knowledge is one of the main traits of someone truly striving to evolve. Maintaining a relationship with someone like this can be exhausting. They often justify their resistance with phrases like, "It's always worked this way," or "I don't see why I should change now." This is a mindset tied to old patterns, even when those patterns are clearly no longer effective. The problem isn't limited to them. It often impacts those around them as well. Their stubbornness and lack of flexibility can become obstacles for anyone trying to work with or relate to them. By rejecting any attempt at change, they create a draining environment that stifles progress and limits possibilities. To handle this kind of behavior, it's important to demonstrate the practical benefits of learning something new. Show how a change could directly improve their life or solve a specific problem. But remember, do your best to help, but don't let it frustrate you. Not everyone is willing to change, and that's okay. Focus on maintaining your own peace and growth, and don't let their resistance hold you back. They prefer to dominate, not collaborate. We've reached the final and most important red flag. This one is about domination through control, manipulation, and imposition. These individuals completely disregard the opinions of others and any opportunity for healthy interaction. But what if I told you there's a right way to deal with them? People with this behavior often act out of insecurity and a constant need for validation. They believe that by exerting total control, they can mask their weaknesses and prevent them from being exposed. This excessive need for control stems from a deep fear of losing relevance or being outperformed by others. They prefer to impose their ideas, equating leadership with domination. However, reality paints a different picture. While collaboration fosters trust, innovation, and lasting results, control breeds distrust, emotional exhaustion, and demotivation. The impact of this behavior is most evident in relationships and the workplace. Individuals with this tendency stifle creativity, block progress, and drain the motivation of those around them. In personal relationships, excessive control creates an environment of oppression and manipulation, leaving the other party feeling unable to express their thoughts or emotions. Rather than strengthening bonds, this approach erodes them over time. Those who prefer to dominate often use manipulation as their main tool. Emotional blackmail, guilt-tripping, and even strategies to create dependency are some of their common tactics. These approaches make interactions draining and often harmful to the emotional well-being of those involved. But there's a right way to handle people who display this behavior. Don't play their game. Recognize that their actions are tactics of domination and manipulation, and you don't have to comply. Set clear boundaries, defend your autonomy, and whenever possible, shift the focus toward collaborative solutions. If you find that the relationship has become unsustainable, don't hesitate to step away. While it may be a difficult decision, it's often necessary to preserve your emotional balance. True success, whether in friendships, work, or personal relationships, doesn't come from control or manipulation, but from trust, mutual respect, and collaboration. In the end, these are the values that truly transform relationships and bring balance to life. Dealing with people who exhibit the 10 red flags we've discussed is a significant challenge that everyone faces at some point, but it doesn't mean we have to let it overwhelm us. By understanding and applying these strategies, you'll be better equipped to protect your peace, energy, and emotional well-being. Recognizing harmful patterns, setting clear boundaries, prioritizing what truly matters, and focusing on your personal growth are essential steps for handling difficult situations intelligently and with balance. The truth is, you can't change the behavior of those around you, but you can change how you respond to them. These techniques aren't just about avoiding unnecessary stress. They're an invitation to thrive despite the circumstances and keep moving toward your goals. Remember, you have the power to decide who deserves your time, attention, and energy. Choosing how and when to engage is a powerful skill that safeguards your mental and emotional health. When you implement these strategies, you'll notice that people with toxic or limiting behaviors have less and less impact on your life, while you stay focused on what truly matters. The ultimate goal is to create an environment where your energy is invested in people, projects, and experiences that uplift and inspire you. By reinforcing these practices, you're investing in what's most valuable: your happiness, balance, and long-term growth. So take control, protect your peace, and keep moving forward with confidence. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.